Welcome everyone, this is Gwydion with RPG Frequencies. Today I'm going to go through an audio mixing software from Logitech called Mixline. This has been out for, I believe, about a year. I think it recently came out of beta. The reason I'm sharing it with you is I'm sure a lot of you use Voicemeeter, which I've used for years. I love Voicemeeter, and more recently I switched to VB Matrix because I just wanted the routing. I didn't need all the processing of Voicemeeter. And Mixline seems to be another good alternative that's really intuitive and simple. I love Voicemeeter, like I said, but sometimes it can get just a little bit complicated. And I think what Logitech did is made this really simple, but yet I'll show you how you can make it more powerful if you want. So a couple caveats on the front end. It works only for Windows right now. I know that's a game killer for some of you, but hopefully, I don't know, maybe someday it would be out. No guarantees, but for now, Windows only. Make sure when you download it and install it, set up a free Logitech account. I think you can opt out of things like contacting, but it's important because it'll open up the audio inputs and outputs that you need. So just make sure you do that right away. So let's jump into the software. So when you first launch Mixline, it's going to look something like this. Very plain, nothing here. The top right is where you're going to see the account. So again, make sure you've logged in. There are some simple settings. So I'll get into this, but if you want to hide disconnected devices, if you want this to start on startup and use it all the time, you can click here. And if you want to keep it in the background at login, so there's just a handful of very small things. It looks like there's a couple of different, a lot of different languages. So that's great. And I'm allowing it to use my data. Obviously, you could turn this off if you want. All right. Couple things that are different. I'm going to compare and contrast just a little bit to Voicemeeter. So if you look at the bottom right of my screen, it's going to be a little hard to see, but my default device right now is for audio is my headphones, my AirPods. Okay, so you don't need to change that. That's something that's a little different than Voicemeeter. So right now I'm going to hear anything I play. If I play a Chrome video or anything like that, or I should say a YouTube video through Chrome, all that's going to work, which is nice. So now let's add an input. So on the left-hand side, I have a ton of virtual inputs. Don't get too confused by those. Those are all like virtual audio and from Voicemeeter, and we will get into these. But if I wanted to add my mic, I could. But I like my mic going directly into all my programs. There's no processing in here. So I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm going to leave that out. But you'll see down here, this is showing the current applications I have open. So you can directly select an application. So let's select Chrome. So now Chrome shows up here. And there's a few things you can do. There's a little plus symbol here. You can add a connection or drag a connection to an output. So let's think about where I might want to include Chrome. Now, again, I've got tons of virtual inputs. The language of input output gets confusing, but when it says add output, everything here that's going to show up are listed as inputs. That's normal. And I think I've explained that on other Voicemeeter videos I've done. Down here is where you'll see the virtual outputs that come with Mixline. So I'm going to select them both. I'm just going to select the stream and the record. Some people use this to separate like VOD tracks and OBS, and they want to use it that way. I look at these more like for Voicemeeter, if you think about VAIO output or VAIO aux output. So just two virtual outputs that you can send your audio to. So let's connect this. And right now, like if I play a video in YouTube, so let's go to my one of my videos so I don't get copyright strike. So I'm going to play some sound. And right now, because I have this connected in Mixline, I'm not going to hear it. But let's connect it because I need, now that I've got it in Mixline, it's overtaking my default and it's playing in Mixline. So now what I need to do is I need to make sure I'm adding my AirPods as a device here. So if I click and hold, I can either click on it and then select it here, or I can left click, hold, and drag. Now I hear it. So I'm going to turn that down a little bit. One thing that's a little bit quirky that I've noticed, and I think sometimes if I shut down and bring it up again, you'll see the volume here. So I don't know. I might try, well, so that is something I've noticed, and I'm not sure why that happens sometimes, but I can hear it just fine. Let's see if I close this. I'm going to try to close Mixline, quit. Let's open it again. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't know if that's, yeah, that's something that I'm not sure why that happens, but now I see it. It's interesting that I don't see it here, but it's working. Okay. I can hear it just fine. So now if I want to send it, let's just say I want to send it like to to a stream, if I'm streaming. So now I'm connecting it to the Mixline stream, and I could connect this in OBS. I won't do that yet, but I can do that. So I am going to pause this for a second. So let's add some other potential inputs here. I use a program sometimes in addition to Sirenscape, Fantasy Plus player. So it's great, Monument Studios, incredible ambiance. I'm going to see if this will loop for me. I think it will. And I'm just going to click on play. So now I hear that. You're not going to hear it yet because I don't want to overtake the stream. But now let us add Fantasy Player as an input. All right. So now it's not connected to anything. You can see the volume coming in, but let us connect it to the stream. And now you can see the sound going out to the stream. Now let's connect it to my headset so I can hear it. So now I hear it. So now the nice thing is you can individually control the stream in here, the volume, I should say. So you can control it here. So if you want each of your audio programs that are going into like a mix, and then if you want one mix being picked up in OBS for recording or what have you, then you can individually set the volume here. Or if you just want to change the entire mix volume, you can do it here, of course. All right. So let's grab maybe one more. Let's grab Discord because that's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to open up Discord. So now remember what I said. What Mixline tries to do for programs like Fantasy Plus and Google Chrome that don't have an easy selection of inputs and outputs of audio, they try to take over it and send it into Mixline. But for Discord, as you know, and I'll pull up my Discord, if I go to my voice and video setting, so this already has input and output devices. So in order to make this go into Mixline, first of all, I'll keep my microphone Yeti because that's just the audio I want Discord to hear. But for the output, in order to get it into Mixline, I need to change this. I have a ton of input outputs, but I'll change this to speakers Mixline. And now that's going to get, or it should get, that any output of Discord into Mixline. So I'm not gonna show that right now. The audio you're not gonna see because I have nobody talking with me, but that's all right. So again, if I want this all to go to the stream, I can put it there, and then if I want to hear the output now, I've got to make sure that I put it to my headphone too. And then you've got your volume sliders. Really simple, right? So now I'm going to pivot for a minute into OBS, and the only sound I have going right now is Fantasy Plus. So I am going to show you my OBS. Okay, so now here's my OBS. You can see right now I only have my mic in. Now you'll see a lot of videos. If you watched any other Mixline videos, you can go into settings, and then you can go to audio and you can change your global audio devices. So that's one way to do it, right? I like to do it in the individual scene. So you can see all mine are disabled. So I'm going to do it within the scene and show you, like, if you just want to select the mix. So like I said, everything's going into my mix. You can add an audio input capture. And then we can say Mixline mix or stereo, whatever that's called. Click OK. And then I might have to turn this down, but let's find, I know I have a ton of programs here, microphone Mixline stream. So now you're hearing what I'm hearing, and that's just some background audio I have from Fantasy Plus, right? But if I did have everything, if I did have Google Chrome video going, if I did have Discord going, you would hear all of that because I'm picking it up from the Mixline stream. Let me go back to this. So that's one way to do this, right? And it works, it's great. But I'm going to show you one other thing as a little bit more of a complicated setup. So I'm going to take this out for a second. Let's remove. And what I'm going to show you that I think is really powerful if you want to take it to the next level is, I'm going to pause this just for a second. Let's pause the audio here. So what if I wanted to have some control in OBS, and maybe I wanted Discord, and maybe I really wanted to do something with Discord where when I talk, the volume comes down a little bit for the other players, but it comes down significantly for the music. So like a ducking. There's a ton of different filters you can do within OBS, but if I'm sending all of my audio directly into the Mixline stream, the only thing I'll be able to do in OBS, I can only set filters for the entirety of the stream. But what if I wanted to separate each of these as their own audio source within OBS? You can do that. And here's how I'm going to show you. What you will do, let's break these connections just for a minute. So you can either right click, I think, or maybe, I know you can drag, left click drag and remove them. So if I just like left click drag and remove them, or I think I can click in here somewhere. Sorry. Yeah, if I click on that plus sign, then I can disconnect from output there. So now everything's going to my headphones, so I'll be able to hear it, but the stream will not. So if I wanted to separate each of these as their own audio source, I've got two virtual inputs, right? Or sorry, two virtual outputs on the right-hand side here. But if I wanted to add another one, what I've found out, and this is, I'm sure is not an officially supported Mixline thing, but what I've found out is I can use virtual audio cables. So it's a bit confusing on which ones to use. And there's a number of them. Don't worry about the ones that I have here that are VB Matrix. Don't worry about those. Those are virtual inputs. I have not figured out how to get those to work. But if I go down here to VB audio cable and I select cable input, you can see it shows up and it looks just fine. Sorry, down here, it shows up, looks just fine. Now, if I tried to do, I have like another, I'm going to do this one more time. So if you look, there's two different VB audio virtual cables. There's the cable input and the cable in 16 channel. For some reason, for this basic cable, if I select the N16 channel, it doesn't work. It gives me a pop-up, tells me the device is in use. I don't know why, but let's just remove that. And let's select the virtual cable input. So now that looks just fine. So if I wanted to send Chrome to Mixline Stereo, so that's going to be on its own, Fantasy Plus to Mixline Record, and then maybe Discord to the virtual audio cable, now I can select each of these sources and more within OBS, and I'll show that in a second. The last thing I'm going to show here is I did add in my virtual cables A and B. It's interesting. A and B are different than the standard video cable or audio cable, excuse me. So if I just select the cable A input, not the 16 channel, it's not going to work. It's the opposite of the standard virtual cable. So if I remove that, and if I want to add the cable A 16 channel, it comes in just fine. So my only point is the virtual cable is free from Voicemeeter. So that would give you 3 different sources. That probably is enough for most people. But if you need more, cable A and B will work. You'll just have to use the 16 channel. All right. So now I have 3 sources. So let's go back into OBS. Where it gets a bit confusing, if I haven't confused you yet, which hopefully I haven't, is now we're going to go in and we're going to add audio inputs. So let's just call them Chrome. And so if you remember, my Chrome is set to the stereo if I can find it. Here's my Mixline stream. So that should be Chrome. And then if I add over here, I could add another input capture, and let's see, Fantasy Plus, which I believe was record. I must have it in there. I'll just say Fantasy. And then let's do that as record, Mixline record. Okay. And then finally, let's add the last one, which is the virtual audio cable, and that's Discord. Okay, and we're going to make that cable out. Here it is, cable out. All right, so now I've got each of those as a different input. And if I wanted to show you, since I don't have anything going on in Discord, maybe I'll just break this for a second. And I'm going to use Fantasy Plus Player. So let's get rid of that. And I'm going to put the Fantasy Plus Player to the virtual cable. And then not that it matters, I'm not going to play anything out of Discord. So now let's play something. Let's play that again. So now you can see, yeah, for some reason, and I'll have to figure that out later, maybe it's the cables I've connected, it's confusing. It's not showing the audio, but I'm hearing it. And let's look in OBS. So yes, you can see. Sorry, I'm going to turn that way down. I confused the issue by calling this Discord, but here's the cable output because I switched those up. I could rename it and not have it be so confusing. Rename, Fantasy, new, and then Fantasy would be Discord. I'll just call it Discord too. Sorry, I shouldn't. I know I made that more confusing, but now you could look, now that we have the Fantasy Plus in here, I'm going to turn that down even more, but you can see it's working. If you wanted to put filters on, now you could do any type of filters directly to that audio source, but it will only affect Fantasy Plus. So look, I think this is pretty powerful software. I will pause the Fantasy Plus, and it's pretty intuitive and easy. And again, what I love about it is when this is open, I do have to make sure my mic is here so I hear the sources and make sure it's connected to my mic. But I don't have to do anything. I can keep, do that. I can keep my default audio source. I don't have to like flip it back and forth and worry about it. It's just going to work if I shut down Mixline. So that's it for today. I'm going to drop a link to the page and the download. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. But I think I'm going to be trying this out. It's a lot simpler setup, and I think it's going to make it really easy for me to separate all my audio sources and use them in OBS. So thanks all. Until next time, happy gaming, everyone.